Our movie today begins with Song, who goes to rent a room on the roof so that it will be cheap because poverty was working against him, and even the broker at that time was disgusted with the place and told him that it was on the top floor and there was no elevator and people wouldn't even use it as a warehouse. But since you want a cheap place, then it doesn't get any cheaper, sir. Anyway, Song takes a walk around the place until he reaches the bathroom and says to him, "What is this? This is a dwarf bathroom, no offense. And how do I get in?" So he says to him, "Come in next to me, and you will know not to complicate it. Let me tell you something. Walk around and you will be fine." Anyway, after a while, his friends come and help him get in the mattress that he bought, used also so that it would be cheap, but to be honest, they get very tired with him until they go up to the top floor. Anyway, one of them asks him to go into the bathroom, but Song says to him, "I bet if you know how to get in at all, go try." Anyway, the rest of his friends bring out his musical instruments, and we know then that he is a singer and a presenter in a talent show. When night comes, Song sits and convinces himself that things are not in this market, so that he knows, that is, he sleeps a little until the market comes out and makes him understand the situation itself. Then he hears the sound of ghosts, so he takes his tail in his teeth and runs out into the street until he gets tired and sits behind a car. But after a while, he calms down and returns home again. Then he keeps talking to the ghost and says to it, "Please, uncle, the ghost, can you let me sleep for now? And I promise you, uncle, tomorrow morning, I will set you free. I know that you are squeezed inside this wall, and you are not comfortable." At the same time, we see Rainey, his neighbor in the apartment, and she hears all this nonsense and laughs at him. By the way, she is also an artist, but in sculpture. Anyway, the next day, Song wakes up, determined to break the wall again, to free the ghost. But then Rainey yells at him from the other side, and says to him, "Uncle, I am your neighbor in the apartment next door. Be quiet for a while." He says to her, "I don't understand. Are you a human or a djinn?" She explains to him that the walls here are a bit thin, and therefore are not soundproof at all, meaning any simple sound can be heard in the apartment next to her. "Relax. You won't be able to file any complaint because they are in different buildings with different addresses, and the owner of each building can't stand the other, meaning you won't gain anything." So he says to her, "Yes, so you want me to get out of here? Anyway, I won't leave, and whoever is upset can rely on God." She yells and says to him, "By the way, I was here first, and I'm not moving from my place." This way, the two enter into a competition to see who will annoy the other more, hoping that one of them will get fed up and leave the apartment. Each one of them keeps looking for the loudest thing. He is there to harass his neighbor, and then she waits for Ronnie when Song's apartment is calm because she keeps getting lost and bothering him more. So the girl goes out to the street and keeps turning around to get to her building, but he keeps turning around a lot and does not know how to reach. And in the end, he returns home to say hello to Yammer Aish, but then he also concludes that he must take his right with his shield and keeps imagining that Ronnie is a witch. He is evil, so he goes to get the watch and leaves it ticking in her brain day and night until she loses her nerve and tells him, "We have to solve it." This conversation, my friend, is of no use. They agree that each one has 4 hours to alternate. He keeps doing what he wants to them and does whatever he wants, while the other person remains completely silent and does not make any noise during this period. But suddenly, Song finds his friends knocking on his door at his appointed time, and he also knows that they intend to stay long and will not leave for another 4 hours. They actually sit and get drunk together until morning, and Ronnie is on the other side, making noises from the pressure on her. At that moment, Song tells them that she is a ghost and that her macaroni bechamel might upset them, so they sit and apologize to her for the noises they make. But after that, they ask her to bring them some pretty girls and make Song win the competition. Anyway, the next day, Song wakes up blind and does not remember anything, and at that moment, she tells him that all your friends left at 6 Gwynzauk. It seems that they have permanent jobs, and there is no one but you who is lost. So he goes and fights with his friend, who knows everything, so that he does not take them and leaves at the specified time, as he told him, and warns him to bring them and come to him as long as they are drunk. He returns after that to apologize to Ronnie and asks her to stick to the schedule for the next 2 days because he has auditions, and after that, she can have all the time for herself. So she tells him, "Yes, sir, if that's the case, I'll put up with you for 2 days, no problem." After a while, Song will go down with his friends, and they wanted him to go with them to a party, but he didn't agree. So his friend said to him, "Uncle, that's unfair. This man who married the doctor is coming. don't be shy. At the same time, Ronnie will be working, and her sister will come to bring her what she needs, as usual. After that, she will put her ears against the wall to hear anything, but Ronnie will say to her, "Don't tire yourself out. Even if he sneezes from the other side of the world, you will hear him." But he left now. So she said to her, "How are you leaving? You liar, you made him arrogant. Leave him." So she said to her, "No, he just went out into the street and will be back after a while. And even if he left, what's upset you? We will go to the party." Everyone was sitting there happy at that moment, but suddenly, Song looked beside him and saw his ex, so he got very upset and stood up, far away. So she goes after him and says to him, "Oh, you still smoke? Anyway, I'm happy to see you all." He says to her, "No, I quit a long time ago, but I came back when I saw your face again. Anyway, no one is happy about this meeting except you, to be honest." So she says to him, "Okay, uncle, I just wanted to tell you that I'm getting married, and it's good that I saw you before the wedding so I could invite you. You're coming, right?" So he says to her, "Yes, of course I will. So what are you thinking?" Anyway, after this miserable situation, he gathers his sorrows and goes back home again. At that time, when Ronnie hears the sound of a child's hooting, she stops working because this is his time, but she took advantage of the fact that he wasn't home and said she would work a little. So she apologizes to him and asks him to give her just 1 minute. Things will get better, and after that, she will remain silent. So he says to her, "No, it's okay. Take your time. There are people who have trampled on my heart and didn't apologize." He sits, holds a notebook, and begins writing. A new song that was, of course, very sad according to his condition. So she says to him, "What is this? Are you stabbed or what?" He says to her, "Yes, by God I have been stabbed for a long time, and the girl left me and went and got dyed with blood for a rich man. Leave me alone today because I am sad now." And he starts on his own to tell her that he lost everything in his life and that he has been a failure and miserable all his life, to the point that he reached 31 years old and does not even have a suit, a job, or an apartment like other people. In other words, he simply struggles for nothing and has never achieved anything. So she says to him, "Maybe this is only from your point of view, and if you think about the matter, you will find yourself guarding your progress, but you do not feel it." After he hears those two sweet words, they give him a very strong push, and he sits practicing the song all night. And the next day in the tests, he sings very well, and the committee chooses him to qualify for the third stage. So he returns home very happy and thanks Ronnie for encouraging him and making him succeed, and he also asks her to agree to his invitation to dinner, and he promises her that he will bring her everything she asks for. But then he remembers that he is poor, so he tells her not everything is strong, so we will eat as much as we can. But she still agrees and says, "Today is a sad day for me, and it is not appropriate for me to meet you, but what do you think about us having a drink together?" Anyway, the next day comes, and we see her for the first time while she is getting ready to leave the house, and she tells Song at that time that he might have the whole day to himself because she has a conversation that she will finish, and she will not return until the evening. But at the same time, she does not want to tell him what exactly she is going to do. We come down, we know that Rainey is going to the lawyer for a settlement session because a company stole her design and attributed it to themselves, and she was filing a copyright lawsuit against them. But the owner of the company says that she was working for them at that time, and any design she will make it under the ownership of the company and not her own private property. But she clarifies things and informs the lawyer that she was actually working in the company, but this particular design is private property, and she informed her that the company did not have any design one day, so she allowed them to use her design, but at the same time, she did not sign contracts to waive ownership. Anyway, in the end, they reach a settlement between them, and the profits are divided equally to satisfy both parties. First, she does not return home and knows that Song, what happened, was coming in Safa, mouth very strong, and saying to her, "Why didn't you arrest this guy? You beat him up. He deserves to be killed, not beaten. This guy must pay the price." Anyway, the next day, he takes his friends and goes to the gym where this guy trains, and at that moment, one of them goes and pretends to be a world champion in weightlifting and says, "What does that mean? He will teach him how to lift properly and such." But in reality, he wanted to distract him until his friend injects the medicine into the water. The important thing is that he keeps telling him to lose weight and play, right, instead of getting hemorrhoids. But you do exactly the same, and you will find the world is good. Come on, it's your turn to go out. Gain weight for him, guys. And after they calm him down a little, he tells him, "You're very clever and you learn quickly. Drink so you can forget." And after that, they go into hiding to watch him respond to nature's call in half. Of course, all the people would not believe that they were witnessing a scandal and would prefer to film in it at the same time. Ronnie would be sitting in her house, and And then her sister would come from outside to show her that Chang had become a trend, and then she would think about Song's words, and that he meant that he was very upset, and said that we had to pay him the price. And she would know at that time that he was the one who did this, so she would wait for him until he came back outside so that she could ask him and make sure that it was him. At that time, he tells her, "I didn't want you to know, but since you knew him, why? Your opinion is now your concern. But anyway, I noticed something strange, which is that your phone hardly rings and you don't leave the house. Don't you feel bored when you stay up all day and night like this?" So you tell him, "No, I don't feel it because you talk to me, and it greatly reduces my feeling of loneliness." So he tells her, "What if you saw me in reality? I would look better and be more cheerful. What do you think about us meeting face to face?" But she doesn't agree and tells him, "Let's leave it after your auditions are over." He tells her, "Okay, but then I can become famous and work hard for you. What do you think about being my girlfriend now before I change my mind?" The important thing is that the two of them start a love story behind walls, like you say, love via Bluetooth, and their outings were via GPS, and they sit and imagine that they are in the places they want. In addition to that, he teaches her to cook, but thank God, so she is a delivery student just in case. The important thing is that when the day comes to meet the family, she brings her sister, and at that time, Sung brings his friend, who is surprised that he brought a suit, so he asks him, "What are you doing to yourself, my son?" He says to him, "Uncle, didn't you tell me to come looking good?" The important thing is that each one sits behind his wall, and they sit and talk. As you can see, no comment, honestly. Anyway, Sung tells them that he really likes this dialogue because it is new and different, meaning it is not like traditional relationships. In general, this strange relationship develops with the passage of time, behind walls as well. At that time, Ronnie falls in love from the 10th floor, just like you. You see, one day they were sitting talking about her new design, and that she would be participating in a very famous and large comic book series. But suddenly, Song's door was knocked on, and as soon as he opened it, he found X standing in front of him, crying and saying to him, "I'm sorry for barging into your life like this, but no one came to my mind but you. I feel like I won't be able to get married." She wanted to go inside to talk to him, but he asked her to go down and talk somewhere far away from here. Of course, we don't need to say that Ronnie was really shocked. After a while, she finds Chang calling her to come down and meet him at a cafe. When she goes there, she finds him preparing a partnership contract with half the profits, and he keeps reminding her of the effort she was making day and night to succeed, and that this deal is beneficial for both of them. But she remembers something else when she trusted him and gave him the design she had been working on all along. The past period, he took her and went with her to the board of directors, as if he was the one who made a mistake. She doesn't remember what he said. She quickly gets up without responding to him and takes a taxi home immediately. As soon as she arrives, she prefers to take the bus so that her panic attack will subside a little. After these two situations, the relationship between her and Song was very tense, and almost no one of them knew how to talk to the other. Also, Ronnie enters a very difficult state of illness and is not able to move. Her sister stays beside her all night until a while later, Song comes back from outside. She starts talking to him and says that her sister is very tired and sleeping now because the symptoms are severe on her. She tells him that he is the first person her sister has taken to and agreed to talk to, especially after the crisis she went through. That's why I hope he takes care of her. Anyway, the next day, Song goes to the company, and he keeps waiting for Chang until he comes down so he can slap him on the mouth and tell him that he is not a good person and that you take advantage of people and steal their dreams. And he gets into a big fight with him and keeps hitting him with all his anger. But after this conversation ends, Chang calls Ronnie and says to her, "How dare you send your friend to fight with me? Anyway, I will not have mercy on you. And as for this contract subject, forget it completely. Of course, no one loses but you. I am a man of integrity, and I do not need to tell you that I do not want you to call here again, unless you beg me to forgive you. And then I can think, of course." After this call, she keeps sitting waiting for Song until he returns at night, and then she fights with him because he interferes in her life too much, and she tells him then that they will never see each other again. I wish they would end this relationship right now, and I wish he would also take care of his private life and stick to his limits because he won't know what's best for her more than her. But Song is really working on her because he asks his lawyer friend about the matter, and what he understands then is that Chang is taking advantage of his partner in the contract and wants to steal everything from her. So he asks Ronnie to calm down so she can listen to him, and he starts making her understand that the other guy is taking advantage of her, and she doesn't understand because she wants to achieve her dream, but she still doesn't want to listen to him him and tells him, "I'm neither young nor stupid, mind your own business." And that's it. Anyway, the next day, she calls Chong to tell him that she accepted his offer, but on the condition that he doesn't interfere or change the model that she will make. Of course, Song at that time was sitting behind the wall, listening to the noise. Listening to the conversation, but of course, he had no right to interfere, especially after I made him condition that they return to the division system again, so that each one finishes his work. But this didn't work with him, and he decided that he would leave this apartment and go somewhere else until the auditions were over. Then he would pack his things and go to his friend, the fruit seller, and he would stay sitting like that, neither working nor having a job, nor was he even practicing for the auditions. Then his friend would stand up and say to him, get up and take a shower now, because your smell is filling the place. Why do you look like this? People won't buy anything from me." So he says to him, "Uncle, no one buys from you anyway, and you're the one who's eating up the entire store until you're about to explode. Leave me alone, for God's sake." He says to him, "Okay, get up and make a living, or are you going to keep sitting here like this and not even pay rent?" He makes him go around to nearby houses to deliver orders to their homes. Anyway, after a few days, the time will come when Song will go to the hospital for the third stage of auditions and performances. At the same time, Ronnie is going to Ching Company so they can start the new job. At the time, she took the designs in a closed box and put it in front of him, but when he opens it, he finds a statue of him in the gym inside to remind him of the old situation. She goes and grabs the torn necklace and throws it in his face and says to him, "What do you regret, Hamada? I'm going to live the happiest days of my life away from you. By the way, try to take a shower, because you still smell bad from the day I knew you, and you run out of the company feeling free." Now we go to our Uncle Song, who sings on stage with all his heart. But despite that, the judges tell him that his performance was terrible, but unfortunately, he can't win. But he doesn't get upset at all, because it doesn't matter that he wins. What matters is that he did what he loves and put all his effort into it. But people's opinion is just my opinion. And in the end, he apologizes to them for disappointing them with a big smile and runs out of the stage to the street. And by chance, at that time, he and Rainey meet on the road. And although they have never seen each other before, but each one recognizes the other at first sight. And at that moment, Ronnie repeats that she will confess her love to Song, especially since he is the one who encouraged her again in life. And after a period of time, they decide that they must get married. And at that moment, Song comes with his friends, with instruments to make an opening in the wall between the two apartments, facilitates communication between them, because they will live together forever. And that is the end of the movie. I hope you liked the summary, and don't forget to like the video, and leave a nice comment, as you are, and subscribe to the channel so you can receive all the upcoming summaries. Peace.